What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today I want to talk to you about the responsibility of success and why you need to ask yourself at the beginning of your journey if you are ready, willing, and able to take the responsibility of success. This is a question that nobody thinks about. Not nobody. Most people don't think about whenever they're starting something. Anything as small as a new hobby or as big as starting a business. All of that requires a level of responsibility. If you're starting a new hobby, it requires that you learn some things. You got to learn how to do it correctly so that you don't feel frustrated that you're not doing it correctly, so that you can, actually enjoy the thing instead of just be half-ass at it and end up quitting it. That's a responsibility. With a business, of course, there's a whole litany of things that you need to be responsible for, and it's worth understanding what those things are so that you know whether or not you're fully prepared to take on that responsibility. Now, of course, in many situations, especially in business, generally speaking, you're going to be handing off responsibility to other people anyway, but it makes sense to know the responsibilities that you have when it comes to your success so that you can hand the things off that you don't want to do, that you're not good at, and keep the things that you are good at, the things that you do want to do. So this conversation is going to be relevant to anybody and everybody who's trying to do something. It's really just another way of looking at achieving the thing that you want to achieve. But when you look at it from a responsibility standpoint, then you frame it in such a way that when you actually take responsibility for it, because most people don't take responsibility for their lives, and that's why this conversation is so important. Most people don't take responsibility for shit in their lives. When it comes to their health, they give their responsibility to their doctor. When it comes to their finances, they give their responsibility to their work or to a financial advisor or to whatever. When it comes to their relationship, they give the responsibility to their spouse. It's on my spouse to make me happy, not on me to make me happy. So in many aspects of our lives, we just tend to abdicate responsibility to something else, and then we wonder why the fuck we're so unhappy and can't figure out how to make things work for us. And it is because we are not taking responsibility for the things. So when it comes to all those aspects of life, they all require responsibility. And the truth of the matter is, most people believe that responsibility is a scary thing. It is a thing that we should try to avoid so that we don't get in trouble. Like when you're at work and you're like, oh, that wasn't me who did that. That was Johnny over there. It was his fault. And you're trying not to take responsibility for it. Like, it's not me. I'm not going to get in trouble. You do that in your relationship. You do that in every aspect of your life. So you don't have to be the one to feel stupid. So you don't have to be the one to feel dumb. So you don't have to be the one that takes the brunt of the punishment, whatever that may be. But the truth of the matter is, you're always taking the brunt of the punishment. You're just ignoring it. So that's why this conversation is so important. It is important because taking responsibility for the things in your life actually brings you more freedom. It actually brings you more happiness. It actually brings you more fulfillment. And you actually realize how much control you do have over many of the things in your life, instead of feeling like you have no control over anything in your life. So my argument for you as you listen to this and as you go through this and as you think about this is to think about how you have thought about taking responsibility in the past, and to be open to understanding how taking responsibility starting today can bring freedom into your life tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Because you have been taught a lie, and it is time to undo that lie. But before we jump into that, make sure that you share this with anybody else who is having trouble taking responsibility in their life. If you know a human being, then it's likely that you know somebody who is having trouble doing that. So make sure you share it with that human being. Any human being you know. Go ahead and just share it with them so that they can also start to take responsibility in their lives. If you have somebody who's like bitching about their work, take responsibility for doing something different or changing the way that your work environment is. Bitching about how their business isn't growing, time to take responsibility to actually figure out what's going on. Bitching about their health, time to take responsibility for that. That's all that is. All complaining is not taking responsibility for your life. So if you have anybody else in your life that is struggling with that, make sure you share this episode with them. So, like I said, most people struggle to take responsibility for success in most aspects of their life. We all have one area, generally, maybe a couple, where we are willing to do that because we're competent in that area. And because we're competent in that area, we feel more comfortable taking responsibility for whatever that is. For some of us, it's family. For some of us, it's our job. For some of us, it's our health. For some of us, it's our hobby. For some of us, it's whatever. Like it's some aspect. It's cleaning the house. We feel comfortable taking responsibility, cleaning the house. But when it comes to these important things in life, most people just fall flat on their face. I'm certain if you're a human being, listen to this, that you have fallen dead flat on your face doing something at some point in your life. Because all human beings have, because they are all fallible. I know that I have many multiples of times. The most recent examples of that in my life have been a failed marriage, depending on how you want to look at that, which I was in for 10 years, and then also losing a business that I was in for 10 years as well. So, bam, flat on my face. And here we are. The question is, do you want to continue to fall flat on your face, or do you want to figure out why you're falling flat on your face? So when you think about some examples, or when I think about some examples of how people don't take responsibility, some basic examples are that most everybody can resonate with are weight loss, for instance. Most people don't take the responsibility of true weight loss. They may take the responsibility of getting the weight off, but weight loss means losing weight and keeping weight off. And most people aren't willing to take the responsibility past the point of getting the weight off, if they even get that far. So maybe you know somebody or yourself have lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and you did it in a relatively quick fashion because you just didn't eat for weeks on end, or you did some stupid fad diet, or you did something, who knows? And then once you went back to your quote unquote normal way of eating and normal way of living, all that weight just came back on, generally plus some. That's because you cut off responsibility at that moment. Once you had lost weight, cut off responsibility. Now it's not my responsibility anymore. Now I get to go back and do whatever it was I did before, which of course is going to lead back to the same outcomes that it did, which you shouldn't be surprised about. So that's one basic example. Another example is somebody who gets promoted to a level of, let's say, for example, having to manage a bigger team. Maybe right now they only manage 1 or 2 people, but then they get promoted to a point of managing 10 people. That requires different skills and abilities than managing 1 or 2 people. If that person crashes and burns, then they didn't take the responsibility to learn the skills and abilities necessary to manage 10 people. They didn't take on that responsibility, and so they crashed and burned. Now, when it comes to work, there is a level of getting higher to your level of incompetence. In other words, you just continue to go up the rung until your skill, like your natural tendencies, literally just weren't compatible with where you were. That's real. I'll give you that much. But nonetheless, it is on us to learn things to fulfill a role that we are promoted into or moved into. And if we don't do that, then we're not taking responsibility for that. So those are just a couple of examples of what I mean by this idea pertains to everything that we do, pertains to anything that you do, anything that you decide to take on and add into your life. or any growth factor that you're trying to pursue, there is a responsibility there that we're not paying attention to. And there are two areas that we need to pay attention to, which I've already alluded to, but I want to specifically point out. Number one is, what does it take to achieve the thing that I want to achieve? Number two is, what does it take to continue the thing once I have achieved it? So if I want to lose weight, what does it take for me to lose weight, the weight that I want to lose, 50 pounds? And then what does it take for me to continue to keep that weight off? If I want a promotion, what does it take for me to get the promotion? And then what does it take for me to continue to stay in that promotion, or potentially, hopefully, move on to another promotion? And those are the two big chunks. They're big chunks, of course, but the two big chunks that we need to think about. And most people spend more of their time on the beginning part of that. What does it take for me to get from point A to point B? But they don't think about all the other 25 letters after that or something. I'm sorry, I failed English once or twice in college, so I don't really remember how many letters are in the alphabet. I'm showing my ignorance right now as we speak. Nonetheless, you have to think about all the rest of the letters, all the rest of the alphabet. You have to decide if you're going to take responsibility for everything that happens after that. And that means, depending on the thing that you're doing, generally continuing to get better, continuing to improve, continuing to push yourself beyond a level of comfort. Because if you are in business, say, and you want to grow business to a point of 6 figures, $100,000, and you get to that point, and then you only stay at that point, that business is dying because simply of inflation. And that is the same in many different areas of life as well. You get to a point, if you stay at that point, that's fine. It's better than you being back where you were, but you're still slowly matriculating backwards because things are moving forward, if that makes sense. So with that responsibility comes not only getting there and not only staying there, but continuing to progress and move forward at the same time. So there are 3 areas of responsibility that are worth thinking about whenever we're talking about taking responsibility for the things that we want to achieve. 3 areas. These 3 areas don't pertain to every single thing that we're trying to do, but all 3 of them are worth bringing up because, my belief is they all certainly play a factor in every part of our lives, always anyway. So that's why they're all worth bringing up. So the 3 areas are, number 1, leading yourself. Number 2, leading your life. Number 3, leading others. Leading yourself, leading your life, leading others. Okay? It starts with number 1, leading you. Leading you, the human being listening to this right now. Which makes sense since we're talking about taking responsibility. The beginning of leading yourself is taking responsibility for the things that you want to improve in your life. That is the beginning of all of this. It is taking responsibility specifically, when I say leading yourself, for your physical and mental personal development. That's what I literally mean when I say leading yourself, like leading you, the human. That means taking care of your health. That means taking care of your mindset. That means taking care of your values and beliefs. That means taking care of your internal and external workings. That means all of that. The human being that is you, leading yourself, is taking care of those things. Exercise, diet, nutrition, the information that you take in, the words that you say out loud, the people that you hang out with, all of that is taking care of you. Because without that being solidified, the rest of it is going to be much harder to lead and to take care of. It's going to be much more challenging. And the world has that ass backwards right now, by the way. Just completely ass backwards. Right now, obesity is at the highest rate that it's been ever, and it continues to grow. People who are overweight, highest rate ever, and it continues to grow. People with diabetes, highest rate ever, and it continues to grow. People with chronic disease, highest rate ever, and it continues to grow. Hopefully, with RFK, with Bobby Kennedy in office right now, we'll start to see that turn around. But nonetheless, it continues to grow. And all of those people lead a hard life. They may not look at it that way. They may not recognize, but you don't know what you don't know. And if you just feel shitty all the time, it's playing a gigantic part in how you're going about your life. And if you don't know, you're just feeling like, if you feel like that's just the way you're supposed to feel, you just don't know. And I know that because I've worked with thousands of people to help improve their lives. And they go, damn, well, the first thing that I recognized was how shitty I actually felt. How bad I actually felt was the first thing that I recognized. Because 12 weeks into it, I feel much better. My energy much better. Much more improved. I can move much better. I can get up and down the stairs without huffing and puffing. I can get up out of the chair without having to wedge myself up. All of that matters. And if you think that this is just the way that it is, then you won't do anything about it. And my belief is that's where all the 70% of America that is overweight or obese right now, I think it's more than that at this point, all of them are just it's just the way that it is. But you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't recognize how poorly the rest of your life is going and how much harder it is because you're not leading yourself, of course, you don't know. So it starts with that. Deciding to lead yourself physically and mentally so that the rest of it becomes easier. Okay, so after leading yourself is then leading your life. So if yourself is literally your physical and mental body, then your life is everything outside of that. Your life is everything outside of that. And like I said, if you start with that, the rest of it will start to figure itself out. But then, of course, you have to put work into it. You have to put work into relationships. You have to put work into work. You have to put work into going on vacations. You have to put work into having fun. You have to put work into growing a business. You have to put work into being happy. You have to put work into your finances and doing that correctly. You have to put work into your spirituality and doing that. All of that takes work. All of those other areas of life that are outside of your physical body all take work. They all take effort. Now, of course, you can't full on maximize all of them, but you can increase the level of fulfillment that you're getting out of all of them. If you start to focus and pay attention and do some things to maximize that. Well, Jer, oh geez, I don't know. This sounds really exhausting. This sounds real tiring. It just feels like it's going to take so much effort to do all this stuff. Oy. Is there a different way to do this? I don't know. Can I just take a pill for all these things? Or can I just allocate 5 minutes a day and then everything will be okay? How about that? Can I just do that? No. The simple truth of the matter is, if you're going to be on this earth, and if you plan to be on this earth, and if you plan to continue to live after you're finished listening to this episode, which hopefully I'm not the one that kicks you off, but if you plan on continuing to live moving forward, why would you not just plan on continuing to live and put effort into things? As an example, and most people are like, well, Jared, it's easy for you. It's no, it's not easy for me. I do things on purpose. Yeah, I do most everything that I do has a purpose to it. From me brushing my teeth with my left hand And eating with my left hand, even though I'm right-handed, I do that on purpose so that it makes my mind think and it keeps me cognitively inclined and it reduces my risk of dementia and Alzheimer's to a small degree, but it helps. To, I don't know, the type of water that I drink, to, of course, all the foods that I eat. Like most of the things that I do on purpose. And yes, it takes a level of effort, but it's like once you start to do things purposefully, then you go, how did I live life any other way? How did I do things any other way? Because you see the wheels start to move. You see the snowball start to go downhill and start to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes downhill. And then it gets faster and faster and faster. And then you're like, man, why would I not do this on purpose? Why did I not do this a long time ago? Start to make things more purposeful in my life. It just becomes what you do. It feels effortful now because you're not doing a damn thing about it. But once you start to do things, it doesn't feel as effortful. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it doesn't feel as effortful. So we have leading yourself, physical, mental, body. We have leading your life, everything outside of that. And then we have leading others. Well, Jerry, I'm not a leader. I'm not a manager. I don't own a business. So what does leading others have anything to do with what I'm trying to achieve? Well, I hate to tell you, if you're a person that thinks that way, that you are always, no matter who you are, no matter if you're a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old, you are always leading somebody. People are always watching. If you have kids, they're always watching. Always watching to see what you're doing and how you're doing it and trying to figure out why you're doing it. If you work with people, they're always watching. They're watching to see if you're going to respond in the same way or react like a jackass. They're watching to see what you're doing. If you're just around people, then you are leading people, knowingly or unknowingly. So again, you can decide to do it knowingly and actually contribute to the growth of society, or you can unknowingly lead people, pretend like you're actually not, and potentially drag society down. I'm not saying that you are. I have no clue who you are that's listening, but you could potentially drag society backwards if you just decide to react to life instead of respond to life. So it's up for you to decide if you're going to take that responsibility and recognize that you're always leading people, no matter what, no matter if you want to or not, always doing it, or if you just want to be blind to it. If you want to be blind to it, realize that you're just being blind to it because you're always leading people. People are always watching. Not in a judgmental way, maybe in a judgmental way, but my general remedy for that is, who gives a fuck? Like, who cares what they have to say? If you are working toward leading yourself better and working toward leading your life better, then people will watch you and they'll either go, well, I don't really like Johnny anymore because now Johnny is this different person and I don't want to be that person. I want to be this drunk person over here, which was what I thought Johnny was, but now Johnny's not this drunk person over here, in which case, great, you don't want to hang out with that person anymore. Or someone will look at you and go, well, Johnny's over here living life differently all of a sudden. He seems happy all of a sudden, like energy's better and he's smiling all the time and I don't really know what's going on. Maybe I should go ask Johnny what he's doing with his life and figure out what he's got going on because, damn, I don't know. I feel like I'd like to be something like that and like to feel the way that Johnny's feeling about life all of a sudden. So you either sift the people out of your life that you really shouldn't have in your life anyway, or you encourage somebody to make a change in their life. And that's what I mean by you have the opportunity to contribute to society in a productive way when you start to change your life, because people will watch and people will decide to change and people will be motivated by you and people will be inspired by you, whether they're telling you or not, whether they're verbalizing or not. So when it comes to leading others, make the choice to intentionally leading others by leading yourself. By leading yourself, by leading your life. And the leading others part will start to take care of itself. Now, if you are a leader or manager in an organization, then of course there is another layer of leading others. There is quite literally being proactive about improving those around you and making sure that you're communicating with them in an effective style and so on and so forth. So there's all of that, which we're not going to get into today. But again, at the end of the day, if that is you and you are leading yourself and you are leading your life, then there is a good chance, very high likelihood, that the leading others part is taking care of itself, because they're all looking at you and going, that dude is disciplined, that dude is structured, that dude takes care of himself, that they just really take responsibility for their life. And so they take you more seriously, and so they take your word more seriously, and so they take their work more seriously. So again, just going back to the idea of bringing responsibility to yourself and how that creates freedom in your life. When you lead yourself, when you improve your physical body, when you improve your physical mind, it literally gives you the opportunity to do more in your life, because you stay healthier longer. You live longer. You can be independent longer. You can think clearly longer. You can be mobile longer. You can literally do things better and longer and more often, and without losing energy or losing capacity or getting injured or having something just keep you down. When you lead your life and you improve your finances and you improve your relationships and you improve all these things, all of those things start to add up. Your finances get better. You can suddenly start doing more things or having more things. You improve your relationship. Your life gets better. How is that not a bad thing? When you lead others better, more effectively, suddenly people cooperate with you more. Like, the point is not to manipulate. If you're just leading a good life and you're leading others in that way and they start to cooperate with you more, perfect, great. Like, your life just got better. Better people will be attracted to you, so you will have better people around your life. Life just got better. And that's why taking responsibility for your life leads to more freedom, leads to better outcomes, leads to a better life. I will leave you with an example, which is technically two examples in one. I know this example really well because one of the two characters in this example is me. The other one is my girlfriend, Cassie, who was on the last episode with me last week. Both of us were in a relationship for 10 years. I was married for 10 years. She wasn't married for 10 years, but she was in the relationship at some level, either married or together, for a total of 10 years. Both of us were the deciding factor of moving on from said relationship, because we knew that moving forward in that relationship was not going to be the most effective thing for our lives moving forward. For what we wanted and believed a relationship can be and how that fit into the life that we wanted, we believed that that wasn't going to be the case. Now, of course, she's in New England at this point, and I'm in Cincinnati. This is just two very separate things happening at the same time. She takes responsibility for her relationship and her life because she had followed, her husband at the time, kind of moved around with him because he was in the college system. So they didn't, they just had this relationship that just didn't make any damn sense to her. And for me, there was just a significant lack of cohesion that wasn't there. And it felt like we just weren't moving in the same direction. And it had been happening for a long, long time. So she decided to take responsibility for her life, to move on from the relationship, to find a job and solidify herself in a position, in a job that she cared about, that she made a decision on, and that she wasn't just jumping from one place to the next because she didn't know where she was going to live. She decided to do that, ended up in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. I decided to move on from my relationship. During that time, I had lost a bunch of friends because I was a different person. I didn't act the same. The person I was with didn't like hanging out with some of the people that I hung out with. So I lost a lot of people. When I left my relationship, some of these people came back into my life, gratefully enough. And so one of those people, one of them is Kyle James Fitness, who I post about on my stories pretty regularly. And his wife works at NKU, which is where Cassie actually ended up working. His wife ended up bringing Cassie to a workout. We would work out regularly on Sundays. His wife ended up bringing Cassie to a workout about 3 months ago or so. One thing led to another. We ended up talking, so on and so forth. And it turns out we're pretty damn much the same person. And we pretty damn much want the same thing out of life. And we pretty damn much are just like, I don't know. I feel like I listened to her story. She listened to my story. And we're like, we just lived the same life in a different part of the country. And then we just figured it out and came together and found the serendipity of the whole thing, because we each took responsibility for an area of our lives that was bringing discontent to our life for a while, is crazy. It's crazy. So in relaying that, I hope that you understand the capability of you taking responsibility for things in your life, and how somewhere along the way, there's a very high likelihood that things will become much better than you currently believe they can be, because you decided to do something about it, because you decided to make something different, because you decided to take action in a direction that means something to you. And when you do that, you just don't fucking know what's going to happen. You just don't know potential capabilities. But if you don't do it, then there's zero chance that happens. There's zero chance that anything moves in your direction. Shit doesn't just show up. It doesn't just happen. Only when you start to move reality and force reality to work in your favor will those potential positive unknowns show up in your life. Like I said, I know they have for me. It's the weirdest thing. I can't describe it. And her and I both say, I'm not going to pretend to try and really understand what's happening here, because sometimes the best things in life you just can't describe. And that's really what's happening. And if that's the case, and it just requires me continuing to take more and more responsibility for my life, I'm on board. And I will be full force moving forward. So I hope you feel the same. I hope you start taking action. I hope you start taking responsibility so that you can have things in your life that you love and enjoy as well. I'm sure you have plenty of those as well, but in a more expansive way. Remember to share this with anybody else who is having trouble taking responsibility in their lives. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys for being around and listening. And as always, for listening to me babble. Until next time, responsibility.